English edition. As usual, we bring to you the major and top highlights of tonight. Let's follow. Workshop to raise awareness of the transport of dangerous goods. And on the international scene, Zionist strikes southern Beirut in Lebanon. Those were the major and top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our blood viewers. The Prime Minister of Djibouti, Mr. Abdelkader Kamel Mohammed, received in audience at the perimeter in the presence of the Secretary of State in charge of investment and private sector development, Mrs. Safiya Ali Gadeli, delegation from the World Bank led by Mrs. Fatou Fall, the institution's resident representative in Djibouti, and Mr. George Joseph Gora, Managing Director of the IFC in Egypt, country head of the International Finance Corporation, IFC, for the Horn of Africa. Mr. George Joseph Gora presented a number of recommendations to be implemented to help the state identify and remove the obstacles to development. The aim is to draw up a concrete action plan to implement projects that address these constraints, particularly with regard to high interest rates on loans. The World Bank, in partnership with the Djibouti Leadership and Entrepreneurship Center, is committed to ensuring access to commercial loans for small startups, thereby facilitating job creation and consolidating the investment projects of young entrepreneurs. The private sector representatives brought together around 50 participants to their grievance and draw up a diagnosis of the constraints facing investors in Djibouti. An awareness-raising workshop on the transport of dangerous goods in the maritime context was organized today by the Center Regional of Maritime Formation in collaboration with the Ports and Free Zones Authority. The event was attended by the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Hamad Ibrahim, the Chairman of the Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Abubakar Umar Hadi, the General Director of the Djibouti International Maritime Training Center, Mrs. Mina Hussein Douale, and representatives of the ports, shipping agents, and forwarding agents, as well as the representative of the relevant bodies. The main objective of this workshop is to draw the attention of public and private players in the maritime sector to the urgent need to integrate into the transport chain, claim the primacy of preventing the risks associated with these dangerous goods in the national maritime environment. The awareness-raising workshop is being led by national expert Captain Abdelkader Abdullah Hassan, head of the Environment and Anti-Pollution Department at the Ports Harbor Master's Office. The Minister for Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Hamad Ibrahim, officially opened the conference in the presence of the Chairman of the Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Abubakar Umar Hadi, and the Director of the Regional Maritime Training Center. In his speech, the President of the Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Abubakar Umar Hadi, emphasized the importance of this workshop and said that this awareness workshop is important in the field of environment and pollution control in the Port of Djibouti. For his part, in his speech, the Minister of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Hamad Ibrahim, referred to the tragic accident that occurred at the port of Beirut in Lebanon in August 2020, which was caused by improper management of dangerous goods. A large delegation led by Mr. Almis Mohammed Abdullahi, Secretary General of the Government of Djibouti, and compromising Mr. Abdurrahman Ali Saeed, Advisor to the President at the Secretary General of the Government, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Ismail, Director General of the National Agency for State Information Systems, and other executives from the Djiboutian administration made an official visit to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia from 30th of September to 3rd of October. The delegation made a series of visits to various Saudi research institutions in charge of the digital and cyber security field. As part of a working visit to Djibouti, a high-level delegation from the steering committee of the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program met last week with key members of government and civil society organizations such as UNFD and community leaders to assess programs on FGM in Djibouti. The delegation, made of representatives from several donor countries, praised the government's efforts and community actions to eliminate female genital mutilation. Let's now listen to the conference of press that took place.
showed impressive work about ending FGM, particularly in their domain of work, which is the service providers. We rely on our service providers not only for providing services, but also for spreading awareness and ensuring that they are gatekeepers to the community to ensure their safety and as well as to ensure eliminating harmful practices and harmful social norms. Service providers are playing a key role in this process of the eradication of FGM by 2030. Another group that I would like to talk about is a network of LNL. And that was the most impressive network I've seen throughout my years of experience and working in this domain, because the women that showed us the stories of their suffering, they also showed us the stories of their power. And the adolescent girls that we met yesterday, they were very, very strong, and they were very skilled in their statements and their recognizing the rights and their bodily autonomy and working for the future of this country. And as we always say, investing in adolescent girls is investing in the future of this country. So congratulations to Djibouti for this amazing work, and we'll look at Djibouti as a catalyzer in the region in order to ensure that other countries are looking at Djibouti and learning from their experience in eradicating FGM.
This is the largest global program addressing female genital mutilation, and we cover 17 countries, where Djibouti is one of them. I have to start first by congratulating the great achievements of Djibouti. From a prevalence of 78%, now we are seeing FGM prevalence on girls between the age 0 to 10, having it at 20%. So this is an incredible achievement. So we came here with a lot of curiosity to see what has been happening. And what we found is that women and girls are taking the lead. They have made great achievements and have also engaged men and boys and religious leaders. Seeing religious leaders speaking openly about female genital mutilation and about the rights of women was an incredible finding, and something I think Djibouti needs to be proud of and share with the rest of the region. The media are one of the most important stakeholders in the FGM elimination efforts. The evidence and the research have shown that you are effective in conveying the messages and changing the attitudes.
Echoing the sentiments of my colleague Wissa, we came here to witness Djibouti's efforts to eliminate harmful practices. And indeed, 2 days ago, I attested the improvement or how Atoi village has taken efforts to eliminate FGM within their own right. My key takeaways, I think Atoi village, very impressive. I think is one of the examples that we need to popularize and showcase to the world, that it takes the family, it takes the mother, it takes the community to make a decision to eliminate FGM. What are my key takeaways? I think 2 only. 1, I think family and community accountability is very key to eliminate harmful practices. So the community made the decision. How did they make decision? I think coordination between the household, the mother who is a caregiver, male involvement, as my colleague has already mentioned, linking up with other service providers. We saw a teacher who has taken responsibility to work with young people, boys and girls, so that we improve on their leadership, we improve on the decision, what is good for them as young people, plus, as I mentioned already, religious leaders, and not forgetting government commitment in policy and legislative has all contributed to give the Atoi community the ammunition to say we are ending FGM.
Really appreciate the work being done by the government of Djibouti. I've seen it, especially the working between the ministries. I've seen the Women and Family Ministry working with the other ministries very closely to eliminate FGM in Djibouti. And what I've seen also is the organization of Djiboutian women, led by the First Lady of the country. and also having a very good secretariat that is working to make sure that we end FGM in Djibouti. I want to say that the role of women, especially mothers, in ending FGM is very, very critical. And I've seen that happening here from the time we came up to the time we visited the village in Otoi. I've seen the work being done by the mothers. And the mothers will help us end this once and for all. And this is one takeaway that I'm going to take away with me. So immediately mothers and grandmothers believe that FGM should not happen, then I believe it will not happen. So this one has been done very well here. I saw the surveillance teams of the women. I saw the men coming in very powerfully yesterday in the afternoon to really support the movement and say that we are not going to allow FGM to happen in our communities. And I know in the next few years, Djibouti will be FGM free and we'll have zero FGM in Djibouti.
The president of the Djibouti Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Yusuf Musa Douale, chaired an important meeting last Tuesday at which the economic monitor of Djibouti, an economic outlook bulletin, was presented in the presence of business leaders and personalities from the business community. The presentation, led by World Bank experts, offered an in-depth analysis of the country's sub-annual economic indicators. The ECB aims to provide essential data to inform economic decisions and guide policies tailored to market realities. In his speech, Mr. Douale emphasized the crucial importance of economic data. Figures are not just abstract, they are concrete levers for developing projects and anticipating future trends. The report reveals that the GDP growth of 6.5% in 2023, underpinned by demand for port and logistics services, as well as a good performance from the construction and energy sectors. Inflation has also slowed to 3.8% thanks to the effective government measures. A landmark event took place this Saturday, 5th of October in Duda, with the second release of modified mosquitoes as part of the pilot phase for the NFL's mosquito self-limitation program in the Republic of Djibouti. This project, developed in partnership with the British biotechnology company Oxtec, represents a major turning point in the fight against malaria, an epidemic disease that still affects millions of people around the world. This initiative is part of an innovative strategy to reduce the population of malaria-carrying mosquitoes. Through the use of genetically modified mosquitoes, these male mosquitoes designed to be incapable of producing viable offspring with wild female mosquitoes are tasked with gradually reducing the local population. The release process is more ecological and sustainable from a biological control than the use of insecticides. The current phase will be followed by a more advanced stage aimed at significantly reducing the reproduction of NFL mosquitoes through the country. 6th of October 2024 will mark the start of the new year of training at the CASAF Center, which will take place from 8 a.m. Detailed timetables will be set to be registered students and parents shortly. The center is preparing to welcome around 100 girls, offering a setting conducive to learning, sharing, and personal growth. This year, the CASAF Center is offering several training sections, including sewing, cooking, hairdressing, as well as small daycare center. These programs have been carefully designed to offer an enriching experience to the needs of each learner. In addition to practical skills, the center will focus on innovative activities such as entrepreneurship and employability training to prepare young girls for a promising future. The teaching teams are ready to support the children and young people in a safe and caring environment. Their aim is to ensure that every student feels supported and motivated through their course. As part of the fight against the illegal trafficking of goods, a seizure of contraband pot took place at the Holhol Army Military Academy. The mobile customs teams at the Holhol Army Military Academy demonstrated their unwavering commitment to preserving the national economic integrity. The mobile customs teams at the Holhol Military Academy demonstrated their unwavering support during the operation. Officers from the mobile custom teams and Holhol Military Academy managed to intercept 22 parcels of khat. The seizure was followed by an immediate action on the ground where the products seized were integrated and put to flames, thus affirming the country's determination to decisively eradicate this scourge. Khat smuggling in particular represents a serious threat to the local economy, and custom officers and the military are working together to dismantle these illegal networks and protect the country's borders from this harmful trade. Shifting gears towards the international scene now. The Gaza Strip's Ministry of Health announced yesterday that the death toll from the Israelis' genocidal war against the Gaza Strip since 7th of October, which is about 1 year now, has risen to 41,825 and 96,000 people have been injured. Shifting towards the other international scene now, French President Emmanuel Macron has called for an end to the supply of weapons to Israel for use in the Gaza conflict. Let's watch.
Macron has called for an end to arms deliveries to Israel for use in the Gaza conflict. Speaking on France Inter, the French president said, "I think that the priority today is for us to return to a political solution, for us to stop delivering arms to carry out in fighting in Gaza." Macron also affirmed that France is not delivering a weapon to Israel. This statement by the French head of state comes against the backdrop of Israeli violence that has been going on for almost a year in the Gaza Strip. Following a cross-border attack by Hamas, more than 42,000 Palestinians, mainly children and women, have been killed in Israel's war, and more than 95,000 wounded in Lebanon, as well as on the capital Beirut, with the stated aim of fighting Hezbollah.
We now go back to the video package of the Israel's genocidal war against the Gaza Strip.
The Gaza Strip Ministry of Health announced on Saturday that the death toll from the genocidal war waged by Israel against the Gaza Strip since 7th October 2023 had risen to 41,825 dead and 96,910 injured. 3 massacres carried out by Israel in the last 24 hours have left 23 people dead and 66 wounded, the ministry said in its report. Many victims are still languishing under the rubble and on the roads, as ambulances and the civil protection teams are unable to reach them, the same source deplored. In addition to the dead and wounded, the Israeli war of extermination in the Gaza Strip has resulted in the disappearance, which has claimed the lives of children and the elderly.
Last night, the Lebanese National News Agency reported 5 Zionist strikes targeting the southern suburbs of Beirut in the surrounding area, 4 of which are very violent.
Lebanese National News Agency, ANI, reported on Saturday night that 5 Zionist strikes had been carried out in and around the southern suburbs of Beirut, 4 of which were very violent. Ambulances rushed to the southern suburbs of Beirut, which had also reported the presence of low Lebanese region since the Zionist army stepped up its bombing campaign on 23rd September. The Lebanese Ministry of Health announced on Saturday that 25 people have been martyred and 127 wounded in Zionist airstrikes in the last 24 hours. Since the beginning of the Zionist aggression, according to the ministry, 2,036 people have died as martyrs and 9,662 have been injured.
And last but not least, in South Africa, demonstrators marched in Cape Town on Saturday in a show of solidarity with the Palestinians. Let's watch.
Marched in Cape Town on Saturday in a show of solidarity with the Palestinians, almost a year after the start of the conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The event took place against the backdrop of international voices expressing support for the Palestinians, denouncing what they perceive as an oppressive situation. The procession, marked by slogans and placards accusing Israel of genocide and racism, marched towards the South African parliament. The demonstrators drew parallels with their own country's past, recalling the apartheid period.
Well, but this our beloved viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening.